Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered here today to reinvigorate and reaffirm our resolve to reject and protest the illegal, criminal, and heinous revocation and abrogation of Article 370 and 35A of the Government of India on 5th of August of 2019. It's a very informed gathering, and we all know the genesis of the complete Kashmir dispute, starting from manipulation in the Red Cliff Award of ignoring Gurdaspur's overwhelming Muslim majority and annexing it with India in August 1947, then sending airlifting troops to Jammu and Kashmir by then Indian government in October 1947, and annexing Jammu and Kashmir by force. And it was due to resolve by the brave people of now Azad Jammu and Kashmir, armed forces of Pakistan, and the tribal people who came to help, that we had what we have today called Azad Jammu and Kashmir. What happened thereafter, we all know. We had 3 major wars with India. We had number of skirmishes, including the latest war we just had in the month of May this year. After abrogating the Article 370 and 35A, there was a systematic manipulation and systematic machination of Indian government in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I was hearing Mr. Senator Mushahid Hussain, and he was very rightly saying in one of the media interview last month that it was on 5th August 2019 that Indian held Kashmir was occupied Kashmir by India. They really occupied it on 5th of August 2019. There was a blackout of continuous 18 months immediately after that. There were deployment of 70,000 additional troops, taking the total over 700,000 in that small area of Kashmir Valley. Indian government introduced domicile laws and issued 4.1 million domiciles to Indian nationals for having properties and the citizenship of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And 46,000 canals of land was distributed amongst 200,000 West Pakistan refugees. Besides this, there was a lot of gerrymandering of electoral constituencies, in which 6 seats were added in Jammu and only 1 was added in the valley part of Kashmir. From social atrocities point of view, thousands of Kashmiris have been killed, their houses have been burned, their businesses have been uprooted just to accommodate the people, West Pakistan refugees there in the valley, and to topple the edge of majority of the Kashmiris. 26% Kashmiri youth at the moment is unemployed, as compared to 6% of overall national figure of unemployment youth of India. There were bundle of violations India carried out only because of this abrogation. UN Resolution 47, 51, 80, 91, 122, and especially UN Resolution of 38 of 1948, which bars any material change in the occupied territory, was sheerly violated. Besides, Article 49(6) of 4th Geneva Convention, which prohibits transfer of occupied population to by the occupied forces in the occupied territory. And Article 8, subsection 2B of Rome Statute of Rome, it actually states this act as state this transfer as an act of war. So the question arises: are we doing enough to protest and to raise our voices against such heinous crimes by the government? At one point, one is satisfied with the number of times Pakistan has approached United Nations Security Council, and we have knocked the doors of international community. We have raised this as a flashpoint. In the remotest corner of the world, if you go and ask anybody who knows a bit about India and Pakistan, he knows about the conflict of Kashmir. But is it enough? Do we need to do more? We blame the people or the Arab countries around the Palestinians of keeping quiet about the atrocities they are facing from Israel. Are we also to be blamed of just ignoring the atrocities and heinous crimes of Indian state of India against the people of Kashmir? Imagine the procession held by late Shah Ali Gilani Sahab, who expired in 2021, in which he is shouting the slogan, "Hum Pakistani hai, Pakistan hamara hai," and thousands of people are following him in this slogan. They are not calling themselves the Kashmiris, they are not calling for independence. They were equating themselves with Pakistan, and they were actually claiming to be Pakistanis. We still have the great leaders like Yasin Malik, who is talking about independent Kashmir, in jail. Shabir Shah and number of other leaders are still in jails, given life sentences, being tortured. So what are the options available? How can we more practically help our brethren of Kashmir? Should we take this act of war, of this abrogation, and announce a war with India? Is that the option? Should we up the voices we are raising in the international community, or should we do much more than this, more than that? These are few questions I'm sure these speakers will answer today, so that we arrive at some conclusion on which we can, as an institution, write something and suggest some practicable options to our government and instead of getting together on these days and just walking the talk, we have some practical measures to be suggested to the government to be followed. With this, I will now request the speakers for sharing their views. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your welcome remarks. I would now invite Director Research, Islamabad Policy Research Institute, Brigadier Dr. Rashid Wali Chanchua, to kindly come forward and deliver his address. Sir, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ambassador Inam, Senator Mushahid, Ambassador Masud, Farzana Sahiba, and distinguished audience. It's not an address, let me put it at the outset. It's just 5 minutes to frame what this issue is and to showcase by way of output of a research institute as to what are the atrocities that were committed and what is the nature of this revocation. 5th August 2019 was a veritable repudiation of all international law and UN Security Council resolutions, and a veritable assault on the identity of Kashmiris. It was a demographic assault, it was a sociological assault, it was a political assault. And Pakistan's case rests on UN Security Council resolutions. And Article 370 was a temporary arrangement according to the Indian constitutionalists. And that was a sop to the sensibilities of Sheikh Abdullah and his like-minded political leaders who had a soft corner for India. And a semblance of autonomy was accorded, and the Constituent Assembly itself, it validated this, and that Constituent Assembly later on was abrogated. It abolished itself after it had established its own constitution. Sheikh Abdullah, which had great hopes, he was eventually incarcerated in 1953, and in 1957, the Constituent Assembly abolished itself. And this Article 370 attained a degree of finality according to some constitutionalists. But slowly the process of nibbling away started. And till 80s, 17 orders and 268 rules were added, statutes were added, diluting the whole concept of 370. In 1965, there was a major change in which the Sadr-e-Riyasat flag and other symbols, they were done away with. And the status was changed, and for the first time, the word state of Jammu and Kashmir as a constituent unit was added to the Indian Constitution and part of Article 370. And after that, that was a slow erosion of the identity and constitutional provisions. So much so that Article 367, subclause 2 was added, and that was added very slyly in order to ensure that the president's orders are equated with the legislations of the respective state legislatures. So very slowly, very deviously, bit by bit, they started nibbling on a semblance of autonomy that was granted as per Article 370. And ultimately, the dream of RSS, its forebears Jan Sangh in 1948 had said that we believe in the trifurcation of the valley and we wish to convert Jammu into a separate state. And their contention was opposed by then Prime Minister Nehru, who said that this would ultimately give a lot of ballast to the narrative of pro-independence Kashmiris. So don't do that. But ultimately, on 5th August 2019, this concept was implemented brazenly in violation of all international law and own constitution. And the tragedy is that the same thing was validated by Indian Supreme Court on the grounds that this is a temporary provision and the Indian Constitution's provisions can be extended to state of Jammu and Kashmir. So whatever semblance of autonomy was there was also done away with. So let us look at this quotation that is flashed in front of you. Nehru, he said that why should they live in a country where Jan Sangha and Rashtriya Swamak Singh are constantly beleaguering them? They will go elsewhere and will not stay with us. Look at Mehbooba Mufti's statement. If Article 370 is abolished, then India will be to Kashmir what Israel is to Palestine. A very interesting quote from Andrew Roberts in Eminent Churchillians, a very important book which I recommend each one of you to read. The Indian troops had moved into Kashmir before the tribesmen crossed the border, which shows that the instrument of accession was a hoax. Stanley Walpert says that the instrument of accession was signed by the Maharaja after occupation of the Srinagar airfield by the one Sikh regiment which was airlifted illegally. Alistair Lamb has this to say: since Maharaja was on the run and a journey of 350 kilometers, there was no way he could have signed an instrument of accession on 26th of October as claimed by the Indians. Now, these are very, very conservative figures that I'm showing because there are other figures also available, but we being a think tank can only show those figures which are validated through sources. 350, these domicile certificates have not only been issued but implemented to the non-subject Kashmiris, altering the whole demographic pattern. They're talking of some.
जी मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो यहाँ मैंने आपका हैंड आउट देखा है उसमें जो है 6 मिलियन का फिगर है और जो वैसे जो वेरीफाई होती है इंडियन सोर्सेज से इंडिपेंडेंट सोर्सेज से इट्स 4.1 मिलियन नॉट 300
फिगर ठीक नहीं
We will.
और उसके अलावा 2 मिलियन तो नॉन कश्मीरीज और वोटर्स लिस्ट भी ऐड किए हैं सो दिस इज आई थिंक फैक्चुअली करेक्ट कर रहे हैं
सर इसको चूंकि ये वो फिगर्स हैं जो कि एक्चुअली उन्होंने अभी लेटली पोस्ट 2019 एंड वो फिगर्स हैं जो 4.1 है वो प्रॉबेबली देयर इज स्टिल लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च गोइंग ऑन बिकॉज वो पहले भी इट प्री डेट्स 2019 के बाद जो फिगर्स हैं उसमें डेक्कन हेरल्ड्स के मुताबिक लास्ट 2 इयर्स में 83,000 हुए हैं और उससे पहले इंक्लूड करें तो दिस फिगर अपीयर्स टू बी अ लिटिल क्रेडिबल क्योंकि पूरी आबादी 12.5 है उसकी कश्मीर की, तो उसमें अगर 6 मिलियन तो कोई वो नहीं. 2 इज़ ऑल्सो 2 मैं कह रहा हूँ कि वो दे हैव स्टार्टेड द प्रोसेस बट दिस 350 हैज़ बीन एक्चुअली एक्चुअलाइज्ड बिकॉज उधर रूल्स हैं विच आई एम शोइंग दे आर लेजिस्लेटिंग स्टिल एंड उन रूल्स के बेसिस पे दे आर ग्रांटिंग क्विकली. तो ये जो अभी फिगर आप सामने सब्जेक्ट टू वेरिफिकेशन ये सर वो फिगर्स हैं जो कि अगेन वेरी कंजर्वेटिव बट टोटल किलिंग्स पोस्ट 2019 96,388 incarcerations 27,000 pellet gun casualties 2030 total kill yes true but these other figures incarcerations or violation of women etc these are post उसके. ये वो laws हैं सर जो 2019 के बाद they have steadily introduced to encroach upon the identity. UAPA Jammu and Kashmir Reorg Act and most importantly ये दो जो हैं this is Development Act and Land Rules Act. इसके मुताबिक दे कैन टेक अवे एनी लैंड फॉर सिक्योरिटी पर्पसेस. अभी वो CRPF को ये लेटली उन्होंने वो दिया और इसके मुताबिक दे कैन कैंसिल द लीज एंड देयर इज अनदर इंफॉर्मेशन दैट दे कैन टेक अवे द पावर ऑफ NOC also now. Now NOC previously used to be by the central government, now previously by the state, now it's by the central government. Election irregularities. They increased total assembly seats from 83 to 90 और जम्मू रीजन जो 48% है 44% population wise it has got 48% of seats 6 seats. जम्मू एंड कश्मीर जो स्टेट है जिसमें उसकी आबादी का तनासब इज मोर हैज ओनली गॉट 1 सीट. Now, according to Genocide Watch, there are 10 stages of genocide and they are already into their 9th stage. So, which can be debated by international lawyers, but this is what they are doing slowly by snatching away their identity, incarcerations, killings, depopulations. And this is something that the world community needs to take notice of. Now, there's another figure that we have got. Since the illegal annexation, there's a much song and dance that Indians make of economic progress, tourism, which came a cropper because of this Pahalgam attack. But this $9 billion is in concrete, tangible economic damage that the state has suffered ever since this 370 was revoked. Last, very interesting quote, Arundhati Roy. You have blinded all of us, every one of us, with your pellet guns, but you will still have eyes to see what you have done to us. You are not destroying us, you are constructing us. It's yourselves that you are destroying. So this is a message for Indians. The brazen violation of international law. International law has to go back. And we should keep knocking on the conscience of international community to ensure that Indians do not wriggle out of their commitments that they made to international community multiple times. And those are alive as living embodiment of Indian commitment, international community's involvement in the shape of UN Security Council resolutions 3947, and Indian excuse that demilitarization, quantum, style, plan was an impediment to holding of plebiscite was also a hoax because the UN resolution 1996 in 1951 clearly laid out directions for both countries to evolve a plan for demilitarization and ensure that the plebiscite is held. Pakistan held its end of the bargain. India resiled from its commitments. So I'll stop here and let my worthy, distinguished visitors enlighten us on this very important issue. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you, sir, for your profound remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now move on to our first distinguished speaker, Ambassador Sardar Masud Khan. Ambassador Masud Khan has served as Pakistan's ambassador to the United States, ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, New York, and ambassador to the People's Republic of China. He has also served as the Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad, before becoming the President of Azad Kashmir from 2016 to 2021. Ambassador Masud Khan is currently serving as the President of TMUC Higher Education Group. Sir, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. General Majid Ehsan, congratulations on assuming this new position. And I think that you do a great job. You have previous experience of leading and heading the National Defense University, our most prestigious institution in the country. Honorable Inamul Haq, our worthy Foreign Secretary, Foreign Minister, and a prominent figure who chairs the board of IPRI, and Honorable Senator Mushahid Hussain, a known figure in Pakistan, a galvanizer and mobilizer, and Farzana Yakub, who broke the taboo by getting directly elected to the Azad Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. And all the audience who are present here, my friend Ambassador Durrani is here, Mr. Chima, all of them, but all those who are present here today, my greetings to you. Let me first talk about Kashmir literacy. Many of the scholars, researchers, politicians are partially or fully illiterate about Kashmir or the history of Kashmir. For instance, I'll tell you something. I'll start with Article 370. Some people think that we supported Article 370. The illiteracy was so deep, I think Senator Mushahid Hussain can recall, that on the 6th of August, 2019, when the joint session of the Parliament was held, one political party moved a resolution to restore Article 370. Now, Article 370 is in violation of Resolution 91 and Resolution 122 of the United Nations Security Council. The Security Council pronounced that under no circumstance any constituent assembly or any body within Kashmir or within India can alter the status of the disputed territory. And to circumvent that, they came up with Article 370 to please and appease pro-India constituents that they had in the occupied territory. So we have opposed tooth and nail Article 370. Article 35A is different. It was never introduced by the Indian government. It was introduced by the Maharaja of Kashmir in 1928-29 to give exclusive citizenship and proprietary rights to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, well, let's be clear about it. So, one warning that the history of the brutalization of the people of Jammu and Kashmir did not start on August the 5th, 2019. It has been going on for 200 years. And it started, the movement for the freedom of Jammu and Kashmir started on 13th of July, 1931, when 22 Muslims, when Abdul Qadir Khan was being tried in a Srinagar jail, they embraced martyrdom in an attempt to complete Azan, the prayer call. So that's when our modern phase of the struggle for the right to self-determination, freedom, and liberty of the people of Jammu and Kashmir starts. Very few people know that there was a split within the Kashmir political movement. One faction was led by Sheikh Abdullah, who was evidently at that time the most popular leader, and the other was Chaudhry Ghulam Abbas, and Chaudhry Ghulam Abbas wanted to accede to Pakistan. And Quaid-e-Azam connected with him. He tried to persuade Sheikh Abdullah to accede to Pakistan. Sheikh Abdullah balked at the idea, but Chaudhry Ghulam Abbas embraced that, and both these leaders were in jail in 1947. And in their absence, Sardar Muhammad Ibrahim Khan, who was the founding president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, I think 32-year-old leader, a barrister at law, he at his residence held a meeting of all the political parties, the political forces, and they decided that the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir, in accordance with the 1947 Independence Act, would accede to Pakistan, not to India. This was the collective will of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The second point that I want to clarify here is that people, when they're talking about Azad Kashmir, they said that, well, the tribals came and they entered through Mansehra and they liberated Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and this is not true. Starting from June to October, the people of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, from Poonch, from Muzaffarabad, from Mirpur, they had liberated this territory because these were war veterans from the Second World War. When do the tribals enter into the Azad Jammu and Kashmir territory? On the 22nd of October 1947. And I just want to clarify that when was the Azad Jammu and Kashmir government constituted with the present boundaries? It was October the 24th. And India moved into Kashmir, with the Air Force and with the troops, on October the 27th. So the tribals had only 5 days to conquer this territory. They did not. They moved to Baramulla, they conquered Baramulla, they quarreled, they had squabbles, they could not go to Srinagar. But then, when India tried to take away this territory, the armed forces of Pakistan and the tribals resisted that attack. And these are the facts. Another fact that very few people know, probably it was alluded here, I just want to highlight this, is that India had sent troops in civilian clothes to India before October the 27th. They had been brought over in civilian clothes from Kapurthala, from Punjab, from Haryana, from other neighboring states. Did I say Himachal Pradesh? They were there already. So we were not the intruders. The Indians were. This has been documented. I'm not making it up. Not because I'm a patriot and I'm I root for Kashmir, or Kashmiris are the cause of the right to self-determination. I can substantiate it. I had a conversation about this with Senator Mushahid Hussain during the darkest days of COVID-19 when I called on you at your residence. Another myth, and since young researchers are present here, and the likes of Christine Fair, they raise this point and everybody applauds. What is the point? They say that there was a resolution by the Security Council which was passed in August 48, which said that the Pakistan should withdraw its troops, and Pakistan did not, and that's why there was no plebiscite. It's a lie. It's a fat lie. What happened, that resolution was passed, it did say that Pakistan would withdraw all its troops or irregular troops or whatever, I'm paraphrasing the language, and that India would maintain proportionate force to maintain law and order. We did not accept that resolution, nor did India, not for this reason, for another reason. And therefore there was prolonged mediation, which was facilitated at one point by the President of the United Nations Security Council, and there was a resolution that was passed in 1952. And the resolution said that there would be withdrawal on both sides. Azad Kashmir was allowed to maintain 3,000 to 6,000 troops, India 12,000 to 18,000 troops. India accepted that resolution. We did accept that resolution. India said, you do it first. And we said, no, thank you. We'll do it simultaneously. And on that disagreement, the withdrawal of troops founded. Now, I can go on and on, but we need to educate our researchers, because what they do is that if you Google Kashmir or even AI, generative AI, 80 to 90% of the sources are Indian sources. And people think that this is authentic information, but they have framed these stories. They have garbled the entire narrative, and therefore they should go to the sources to understand what the state of play was and how we should defend our case. Now, I forgot to do that, but right in the beginning I should have said congratulations the people of Pakistan, congratulations the people of Jammu and Kashmir, because your victory in May 2025 was definitive, was recognized by all the military experts from around the world. It's known my version. Analyses have been published by the press in the UK, the United States, Australia, and these people are very skeptical. They're very skeptical. They have their own editorial lines, and they usually do not deviate from them. But this time, they were sufficiently objective, and they established that Pakistan had an upper hand. Now, we didn't have to show that. I was told that sometimes when an aircraft takes off, and if the pilot makes an error, and I'm talking about an exercise, not a real combat, and when they come back to the base, it's all on the screen. You can never say that, no, but this was the explanation, this is what happened. It's all displayed on the screen. Similarly, this victory of Pakistan was displayed on all the screens all around the world live. And there was massive validation of what we were able to do. And we shattered the myth of India's invincibility and supremacy. And this was a great moment for Pakistan. This continues to be a great moment for Pakistan. My tribute to the armed forces of Pakistan, to the Air Force of Pakistan, to the people of Pakistan who demonstrated unity, and to the media persons whose narratives were objective, were fact-based, fact-checked, compared to India's, which went into war frenzy. I mean, I'm talking about the media houses, and they spread lies and fabricated news. And they were exposed by Reuters and Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal. I mean, the fact checkers, they exposed them. Now, let me come to the dark day of August the 5th, 2019. I had a conversation with Farzana Yakub the other day, and I told her that I was in Gilgit-Baltistan. And, you know, like you have a commander there, GOC, he has a different title there. And we were having a conversation, and I was, but my face was towards television screen, and it's Amit Shah making a statement that they are dividing the territory into two parts, union territories. And the next day I flew back to Islamabad, attended the joint session of our parliament. The one thing Senator Mushahid Hussain said that shocked me to the core. And I hope you would endorse that, unless you have revised it. In a statement, he said that during the night of the 5th of August and 6th of August, there were banners all over Islamabad saying Akhand Bharat. What am I trying to say? That there is penetration within our ranks. We have to be vigilant, right? We are not a sisa pilai hui diwar. And the penetration is through these soft entry points, media, movie, culture, bhangras, whatever. So we have to be very... Now, what has happened in the past 6 years? Kashmiris have been brutalized. Of course, their identity is being changed, as it has been mentioned here by the president and also the executive director, that what has happened in these years is that they have divided and subdivided the population. You have tribals, you have Gujars, you have Bakarwals, you have the mountain people, Paharis, you also have, and you have bifurcated them, and you've given them special privileges. That even if they are Muslims, they cannot be aligned with the Muslims. That's the whole technique. And I think, as it has been pointed out, that they, in pursuance of a ruling that was given by the Supreme Court of India, elections were held. But before that elections, there was this delimitation of constituencies, and 6 seats in Jammu have been increased. In case of the Valley of Kashmir, only 1 seat. Now, why do I mention it? It's because I think that I do not rely on their statistics about the population of Jammu and the Valley of Kashmir. The last census was held in 2011. And I'm sure that the population, at that time the ratio was, in the Valley of Kashmir, you used to have 8 million people and 4 million in Jammu. And there couldn't have been an increase like that, a sudden spurt, so to say. Today, the population should be 15 million, not less than that, because there has been no census. And the elected body that they have cobbled together is powerless. There are 6 ministers. There are 2 Hindus in it, and there's 1 woman, and then there are pro-Indian elements, and there's Umar Abdullah. Umar Abdullah and his father and grandfather, they have been selling Kashmir to the Indian Union bit by bit, and they've been rewarded this time again. They are acceptable SOBs as compared to others. I'm sorry for this expression. This is an expletive, and if there is a record, this may be deleted. But the point that I want to make is that on the 13th of July, all the leaders of Kashmir were incarcerated. They were confined to their houses, and there were police outside their houses. They could not visit Mazar-e-Shuhada. And Mehbooba Mufti sneakily, a day earlier, went and visited it because you know that they were clamped down on the 13th of July. And Umar Abdullah, when he tried to do that, there was a nakabandi, and there was a police force blocking his path, and there were many barriers. And he ordered them to let him go to Mazar-e-Shuhada. He wasn't. And what he did on the 14th, he could not do it on the 13th, he climbed the locked gate of Mazar-e-Shuhada, accompanied by his father. Why am I saying this? That if in the past 6 years, if India has won hearts and minds of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir are very happy because they have given them paradise on earth through development projects, what are they afraid of? People visiting Mazar-e-Shuhada? And why are there 10,000 soldiers there, keeping the entire territory of Jammu and Kashmir in captivity? You send armed troops to enemy territory, not to your own sovereign land, or against the people who have allegiance towards you. Now, again, a bit of introspection. The people of Pakistan, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, I'm not talking about the people in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Azad Kashmir, and the diaspora community, we are not doing enough. We all indulge incessantly in tokenism. Today is 5th of August, so there would be rallies and speeches and bellyful denunciations of what Indians are doing, and we will recount all their atrocities, but we are not doing enough. And then there's the Kashmir Solidarity Day, then there's the Black Day, October the 27th. What are we doing throughout the year? It's not a civil rights movement. And let me warn you that the state of Palestine, or the Palestinian people, have the support of the majority of the global citizenry, and yet they can't make a dent because the international system is broken, because it was never geared to give justice to the weak, to the marginalized, to the disadvantaged people, to the disenfranchised people. We fall in that category. And we think that through speeches and rallies, or accusing each other of lackluster performances, we would be able to win Kashmir. Under no circumstances. However, there's a ray of hope, because the people of Jammu and Kashmir haven't given up their movement. The people of Azad Kashmir have remained steadfast in their commitment. I want to pay tribute to the people of Pakistan and to the successive governments and leaders, that they have been under enormous pressure. We lost Bangladesh, and India has been offering paradise on earth. If we just abandon Kashmir, they've used the pressure from the United States of America. There was a special formula which was imported from America by a Kashmiri American, and then it was recycled during early 2000s to bury the issue. Pakistan has not abandoned the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan has given immense sacrifices. When people say that we are spending so much on Kashmir, I say we are not spending so much on Kashmir. But there are intangible costs, huge intangible costs for Pakistan. So I think that we can take pride in this, that though our performance is not optimal, we haven't abandoned the cause of Kashmir, and we should not. On one occasion, I was at Air University, and I talked about Kashmir at length. And there was an ex-air marshal who had been the rector of that university. He stood up and he said, "Bhai, ye kya jhagda hai? Kudar कश्मीरी जो है वो पिस रहे हैं, इधर आज़ाद कश्मीर के लोग नारे लगा रहे हैं, इधर जनाब आप पाकिस्तान को भी आपने मुसीबत में डाला हुआ है, दें उनका हिस्सा उधर दें, इधर हमारा अपना हिस्सा अपने पास रखें, अगर नहीं है तो कश्मीर को आज़ाद कर दें." तो میں نے کہا کہ جی آپ کہاں سے ہیں؟ تو ان کا سرگودا سے ہیں. تو میں نے کہا کہ پہلے ہم سرگودا نہ ہندوستان کو دے دیں. تو ان کا نہیں جی سرگودا نہیں دے سکتے, یہ پاکستان کا حصہ ہے. تو میں نے کہا کہ اگر آپ تاریخ سے واقف ہیں تو پورا جموں اور کشمیر بھی پاکستان کا حصہ ہے. میں نے یہ نقطہ اس لیے آپ کے سامنے پیش کیا ہے کہ دانستہ, نادانستہ یا حماقت کی وجہ سے آپ کے جو پرو ایکسیشن لوگ ہیں آپ ان کو کمزور کر رہے ہیں اور ان کو تقسیم کرنے کی کوشش کرتے ہیں. آج تک جو اہل جموں و کشمیر میں 5 لاکھ لوگوں نے آپ کے لیے شہادت دی ہے, 5 لاکھ, اور میں اس میں 2,38,000 جموں کے لوگوں کو شامل کرتا ہوں جن کو 1947 میں اکتوبر اور نومبر کے مہینوں میں مارا گیا تھا وہاں سے. ٹھیک ہے, راشٹریہ سوائم سنگھ, جن سنگھ, مہاراجا کی ڈوگرا فوج, INA, یہ جو ہندوستان کی ایک آرمی ایک ہوتی تھی, ان سب نے مل کے مارا تھا. اور پھر اس کے بعد ہم قربانیاں وہ کشمیر کے اندر قربانیاں دیتے چلے آ رہے ہیں. اور جو بھی جنگیں لڑتے ہیں اس میں یہاں پاکستان کی جب ہم نے جو ایک قسم کی جنگ لڑ رہے تھے تو اس وقت 10,000 ہمارے بچے شہید ہوئے تھے, 8,000 پاکستان کے تھے, 2,000 آزاد کشمیر کے تھے. آپ ان حقائق سے صرف نظر نہیں کر سکتے, بیکاز آپ جب یہ کہتے ہیں کہ فیشنیبلی کہ جناب یہ بھی ممکن ہو سکتا ہے, یہ بھی ممکن ہو سکتا ہے, حالانکہ قراردادیں آپ کو کسی اور چیز کی پابند کرتی ہیں. 1947 کا ایکٹ آپ کو کسی اور چیز کا پابند کرتا ہے. اگر قراردادیں نہ بھی ہوتی تو 1947 کا ایکٹ آف انڈیپینڈنس جو تھا اس کے تحت یہ آپ کا حق ہے, آپ سے حق چھینا گیا ہے, آپ ادھورے ہیں کشمیر کے بغیر, دو قومی نظریہ ادھورا ہے کشمیر کے بغیر. تو میں یہ کہتا ہوں کہ کسی طریقے سے بھی ایسے اقدامات نہ کریں جس سے جو الحاق پاکستان کے داعی ہیں ان کو آپ سیاسی طور پر کمزور کر رہے ہوں اور ان کی جڑیں کمزور کر رہے ہوں. میرا آخری پوائنٹ یہ ہے کہ ایک مرتبہ پھر امید کی کرن روشن ہوئی ہے. صدر ٹرمپ نے یہ کہا ہے جنگ بندی کے فوراً بعد انہوں نے یہ کہا کہ وہ کشمیر کے مسئلے کے حل کے سلسلے میں ہماری مدد کر سکتے ہیں, اور اس کے اوپر ابھی تک کوئی خاص پیش رفت نہیں ہوئی. اس کی ایک جو ہے تکلیف دہ پہلو یہ ہے کہ 2019 میں بھی انہوں نے وائٹ ہاؤس میں بیٹھے ہوئے ایک لائیو پریس کانفرنس میں یہ کہا تھا کہ نریندر مودی نے ان سے درخواست کی تھی کہ آپ مسئلہ کشمیر حل کروانے میں میری مدد کریں. دوسرے دن جے شنکر نے لوک سبھا میں بیان دیا کہ نریندر مودی نے ایسا نہیں کہا تھا. صدر ٹرمپ نے بارہا کوشش کی اس وقت بھی کہ کسی طریقے سے اس مسئلے کو ختم کیا جا سکے یا حل کیا جا سکے. ایک مرتبہ پھر جو ہے یہ جو ہے آپ کو بازگشت سنائی دے رہی ہے, یعنی دنیا کے ایوانوں میں, چانسلریز میں, اس کے بعد جو ہے ذرائع ابلاغ کے دفاتر میں کشمیر کے اوپر ایک مرتبہ پھر سے تجزیے ہوئے ہیں. یہ بھی کہا گیا ہے کہ کشمیر ایک کلیدی مسئلہ ہے, اگر آپ اسے حل نہیں کریں گے تو یہاں ہمیشہ جنگ اور تصادم کا ماحول رہے گا, اور اس کے بعد یہ جب جنگ بگڑے گی تو یہ جوہری جنگ ہو سکتی ہے, نیوکلیر جنگ ہو سکتی ہے, جس کا نقصان صرف ہندوستان پاکستان کو نہیں ہوگا, جس کا نقصان ساری دنیا کو ہوگا. ہمارے پاس کلید کیا ہے؟ ہم اس وقت جو ہے سلامتی کونسل کی غیر مستقل رکن ہیں. مسئلہ 2019 میں بھی اٹھایا گیا تھا, مسئلہ اس مرتبہ بھی اٹھایا گیا ہے, آبی جاہریت کا مسئلہ بھی اٹھایا گیا ہے. لیکن جو ویٹو ویلڈنگ پاورز ہیں, خاص طور سے 3 ممالک جو اس کا حل نہیں چاہتے ہیں, ایک ہے امریکہ, دوسرا ہے برطانیہ, تیسرا ہے فرانس, انہوں نے جو ہے 2019 میں ہماری آواز کو دبا دیا تھا. کوئی بیان نہیں آ سکتا تھا, ایک اسٹیٹمنٹ ہوتی ہے جو آتی ہے وہ نہیں آ سکی تھی. اس مرتبہ بھی جو بات چیت تو ہوئی ہندوستان کی جگہ, کوئی بیان نہیں آیا اور کوئی قرارداد نہیں پاس ہو سکتی. تو اس میں یہ ہے کہ خدا کے فضل و کرم سے آپ کے اور امریکہ کے تعلقات بہتر ہوئے ہیں. کچھ لوگ سوال اٹھاتے ہیں کہ جی اس میں کتنا ایک ٹھوس تجویز ہے, اس میں کوئی جان ہے یا نہیں ہے. لیکن کچھ آپ کے لیے کشمیر کے علاوہ بھی بہت سے مواقع سامنے آئے ہیں, وہ تجارت کے, معیشت کے, اس کے علاوہ یہ ہے کہ اسٹریٹجک سطح میں, سیاسی سطح میں, اس کے بعد جو ہے جو کمیونیکیشن کے اعتبار سے جو آپ کے اوپر ایک اعتماد پیدا ہوا ہے, اور اس کی وجہ سے دنیا میں آپ کا اعتماد بڑھ رہا ہے, جبکہ جو ہمارا مد مقابل ہمارا دشمن ہے وہ ذلیل و خوار ہو رہا ہے. اور وہ کہتے تھے, میں نے ابھی پچھلے دنوں کہیں کہا تھا کہ وہ ہمیشہ اس بات پہ فخر کہتے تھے, سینہ ٹھوک کے کہتے تھے کہ ہماری اسٹریٹجک آٹونومی ہے. اس وقت جو ہے ان کے ہاں اسٹریٹجک ولڈرنس ہے, کہ انہیں سمجھ میں نہیں آ رہا کہ چین سے جا کے معافی مانگیں یا روس سے تیل خریدنا ختم کر دیں. یہ اس میں سلامتی کونسل تو مزید کچھ نہیں کر سکے گی, کیونکہ مجھے پتہ ہے کہ میں سلامتی کونسل میں رہا ہوں. ہمارے جو محترم انعام الحق صاحب وہاں رہے ہیں بہت عرصے تک اقوام متحدہ میں, اس کی پیچیدگیوں کو جانتے ہیں. آپ کو میں ایک نقطہ بتا رہا ہوں کہ اگر آپ براستہ امریکہ, ہندوستان اور اسرائیل کا نیکسس توڑ دیں, یعنی یہ میں ریال پالیٹک کی بات کر رہا ہوں, تو کچھ امکان ہے کہ آپ کشمیر کا مسئلہ حل کر سکتے ہیں. دوسرے جو میں نقطہ آپ کے ساتھ چھوڑ کے جا رہا ہوں کہ خدا کے فضل و کرم سے اور الحمدللہ مئی کی جنگ کے بعد آپ کا اعتماد آسمان کی بلندیوں کو چھونے لگا ہے. لیکن جو محققین یہاں بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں وہ دیکھ لیں کہ یہ ہندوستان کتنی کمزور, کتنی فریجائل ریاست ہے. اس سے ڈرے نہیں خدا کے واسطے, اور اس بات پہ اعتماد رکھیں کہ یہ جنگ لمبی ہے, اٹس اے لانگ ہال. آپ کو تشتری پہ کوئی کشمیر رکھ کے نہیں دے گا, لیکن پاکستان پھلے پھولے گا, اور جب یہ اپنے 100 سال مکمل کرے گا تو دنیا کی طاقتور ترین اقوام میں ہوگا اور دنیا کی خوشحال ترین اقوام میں ہوگا. یہ ہمیں خواب بھی دیکھنا چاہیے اور اس خواب کو پورا کرنا چاہیے. اس کے ساتھ میں 2 معذرتیں کروں گا. پہلے میں نے سوچا تھا کہ 10 منٹ کے لیے بولوں گا, تو میں نے 10 کو ضرب دے دی ہے میرا خیال ہے کسی ہندسے سے. اور دوسری معذرت یہ ہے کہ میں آپ تھوڑی دیر کے بعد آپ سے اجازت چاہوں گا, میں ایک اور جگہ جانا ہے جس کی میں نے پہلے سے اطلاع دے دی تھی. جنرل صاحب آپ سے معذرت, بالخصوص 2 پینلسٹ جو ہیں جن کا میں بہت مداح ہوں, اور یہ مطلب سینیٹر مشاہد حسین صاحب سے تو گستاخی کر رہا ہوں, لیکن جی تو وہ نہیں, اس سے پہلے بھی ایک ہے. تو اس لیے میں یہ کہوں گا کہ آپ جو آپ نے بیان دیا تھا اس میں تصدیق کر دیجیے گا. یہ بیان میں نے کرافٹ نہیں کیا تھا, یہ آپ نے دیا تھا پارلیمنٹ میں, بھائی پارلیمنٹ میں دیا تھا. بہت بہت شکریہ جی.
Thank you, Excellency, for your incisive perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed to our second eminent speaker, Ms. Farzana Yakub. Ms. Farzana Yakub's career spans roles as a Minister of Social Welfare and Women Development, IIOJK, as well as a consultant across government affairs, development, and business internationally. She has been part of multiple Kashmir-related initiatives in think tanks and universities of Pakistan. Ms. Farzana Yakub is also the Secretary of Kashmir Working Group, Institute of Policy Studies, Islamabad. Ma'am, we now invite you to speak.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. مسعود صاحب کے بعد بات کرنا بہت مشکل کام ہوتا ہے کہ اب اور کیا بات کی جا سکتی ہے. سب کچھ تو انہوں نے کہہ دیا, اس کے بعد ان کے لیے بھی کچھ جگہ رکھنی ہے. تو میں ہی کرتی ہوں کہ صرف اور صرف کرنٹ اپڈیٹس کے بارے میں بات کر لیتی ہوں. ایک تو یہ ہے کہ so there is a forum for human rights in Jammu and Kashmir, and post 2019 it has been extremely active, and they have publicized another report. They publicize their reports annually, so one was released yesterday. And considering the context that the Supreme Court of India has facilitated the government of India's change in its constitution, the Supreme Court did not, as it had previously shown strength, of stopping the Indian government from annexing Indian-occupied Kashmir to India. So what we see is that there is a continuous dilution and weakness of the Indian institutions. Just like Brigadier Janjua told us about how Article 370 was diluted. You see, when a country, an occupying state is busy in occupying a state, what it does not realize is that it is weakening itself. And India is a classical example of every weakness. The recent skirmish of May 2025 has all. We, the Kashmiris, have been hearing by multitudes of Pakistanis that, oh my God, India is this and that, and we need to do this and that, and that. With all due respect, we don't believe it. India was never rising, it was never shining. It cannot. A colonizer cannot. It can sell the idea of the shine. It can sell the idea of democracy. But you see, that is the classic skill set that India has. It thrives on Bollywood. It thrives on movies. It does not survive on reality. And so we're sold to the Indian movies that we see. One that clearly shows that Pakistani media does not have that strength to show the reality. We're not at par. And it is okay. If Pakistanis want to believe it's a David versus Goliath, it's okay. Because there might be reprieve, there might be some time where people can relax and take some time off and then jump into, fight against India. But for Kashmiris, there is none. Kashmiris post 1947 did not change their stance. One of the most instrumental reasons for Kashmiris not changing their stance is because the repression that they live in does not allow them this choice. If we were to believe all that India says that it is doing for the upliftment of Kashmiris, in all honesty, it is said and believed that money can buy anything. We're also human beings. What kind of money is this that we are unable to sell ourselves? Human beings are treated as a commodity. Maybe we could have been bought, but you see, India does not want to buy us. India wants the land without the Kashmiris. India has been proactively doing that. It has been killing Kashmiris. It has changed the demography, not just by the numbers that were just shown, the additional domiciles. The demographic change has been happening even since 1947 and before that, by killing Muslims. That's the only way that you can change demography. No matter how many people you add, you can't absorb 1 million people in a territory in a year. You just can't do that. You cannot just plant human beings. They're not plants, they're human beings. There has to be space, there has to be infrastructure. All the money that India boasts that it is investing in Kashmir is not for us Kashmiris, it is not for my people. It is for their armed forces, their colonies, their cantonment areas. They need to do that so that they can increase the colonization. 2019, 5th August, is a day where occupation was tried to change into an annexation, so that the settler colonial agenda could be moved forward at a faster pace. Nothing that has happened post 29 is new. It is not that it was happening for the first time. Be it law, be it human rights, any and everything has been progressively deteriorating. But that does not still satisfy India's hegemonistic appetite of ownership. India believes in Akhand Bharat. In 2023, when the new Parliament building of India was inaugurated, they put up an old map. It was not a new map. Generally, they have that map in their museums. This is the map of India that they believe was at Ashoka's time, which was Akhand Bharat. Now, some people say that, no, this is an old map, and what's the big deal? No, it is not an old map because you believe in it. This is India's ideology. And it is not just BJP. It is Congress as well. Was Kashmir and Kashmiris in a better state when Congress was leading India? No. So then why do we associate all of this aggression only to BJP? You see, this is a state plan which none of the parties change. Some are soft-spoken, like, people are completely in love with President Obama. He was such a smart man but he was unbelievably lethal and the worst of presidents. During his time, the drone attacks within Pakistan multiplied. But we don't like Trump because he's crass and he speaks like you and me, by the way. Trump spoke like an intellectual. Obama spoke like an intellectual. So we're ready to be bought by good words. We like being sold to good ideas, completely knowing that the reality is not what is being said. The reality is stark and brutal. The actions were never supported by their words. And their words are always very different. Also, I see multiple people mostly equating Kashmir to Palestine. Palestine wants independence. Kashmir wants to join Pakistan. We have to be very careful when we're aligning these two movements. Yes, the abuse is similar. The settler colonialistic agenda, of course, is similar. There's another difference. Hamas does receive military support, material support. Kashmiris don't. Pakistan actively changed its policy. Pakistan was grey listed. What do you think Pakistan did to get out of FATF? It had to do a lot of legislation. Kudos and hats off and all praise for getting out of that list. But you see that Pakistan was put into that list because of what was perceived was being done. No one spoke up at any time that Kashmiris have the right to self-defense. Kashmiris have been given the right of self-determination. And the self-determination cannot come without self-defense. And there is no help. I would love to praise all the progress that has been made. But let that not diminish the actual issue, which is there is no material help for Kashmiris who want to fight back Indian aggression. What we call ceasefire line is called LOC over here. Why? You see, language is very powerful and we change the narrative. Sadly, Pakistan unknowingly, and I would like to believe unknowingly, follows the narrative that is created by India. India says, oh, Simla made Kashmir bilateral. We say, oh my God, India made Kashmir bilateral. We forget all the resolutions of United Nations, which clearly says that no state can change the state of Indian occupied Kashmir. We completely forgot. And we kept maligning ourselves. We look down at ourselves. Pakistanis are so not used to being proud of ourselves, of being brave and courageous and accepting who we are. That's an Indian narrative that we are bad people. And Pakistanis, sadly, even to date, actually do believe that we are bad people. No, we are not. We are unbelievably courageous people, and we have never stepped back. We have never given away any of our territory, Kashmir included. Fine, there was no kinetic action in 2019, but the ownership is still there because Kashmiris say that we the people, want to join Pakistan. India says that Indus Water Treaty is in abeyance. It should not be taken lightly. During May, India did attack Neelam Jhelum. There is evidence, clear evidence. This is a fact, not a story. Now, what can India do when it says that Indus Water Treaty is in abeyance? Indus Water Treaty is an extremely diluted treaty. We know that India has been eating away at Indus Water Treaty. It has built multiple hydropower projects on the rivers in Indian-occupied Kashmir, and it has been progressively stopping the flows of water to Pakistan. Pakistan, even if there is no Indus Water Treaty, there is international law, Pakistan has lower riparian rights. What we do forget is that in this India-Pakistan story, the uppermost riparian is China. And China has actually given a warning to India, which might be more credible a warning than probably, because Pakistanis don't like to give credit to themselves. Even they have said that you cannot stop waters from flowing. So there's a lot of strong international law that facilitates lower riparian rights. So we must not feel weak. We can fight it, but there has to be this clarity. This is not new. Kashmiris, wherever we have spoken, we have clearly told all the stakeholders, all the decision makers, that if you are weak on Kashmir, if you don't want to fight for the people of Kashmir, write it. You will fight for water. What will you do when people of Kashmir won't assist you? But thank God, post-2019, it was really bad. Thank God that India did attack in May. Because this is what we said. The war will happen. You can start it with your own choice, or it will come to your door. And it did. And India will not stop. It will keep doing this. But there has been a postponement of Indian grand plans because finally Pakistan responded. And that is why it is so instrumental and so crucial. Please don't sell yourself to this higher morality. This does not exist. There is no higher morality. Look at what is happening in Palestine. Don't waste yourself on this higher morality. There is no higher morality. It is all about power. You beat me, I will beat you more. That is all that the world understands. The fact that the world is finally looking at Pakistan, why? Because we were good in diplomacy? No. Because Pakistan beat the shit out of India in just 2 days. That's the world. Accept it. So then why are we weak when it comes to Kashmir? We need to be stronger. The prisoners in Indian jails, the political prisoners. Dr. Faktu has been in Indian jails for over 30 years. He happens to be a political prisoner who has spent more than 30 years of his life in Indian jails. He has spent more time in the jail than Mr. Nelson Mandela. So you have this Kashmiri leadership, which is at the top of any recorded abuses. We're up there. But people know his wife, Asya Andarabi. The whole family is incarcerated. There are multiple people. We remember just a few famous ones, but I wanted to remind you that the not so famous have spent more time in Indian jails for believing in a Pakistan than the very famous ones. So we have heroes. Please remember our heroes. We should look up to our heroes, and Dr. Faktu happens to be one of them. Parvez Imroz is a person who is a lawyer, and and Parveena Ahangar. They both have received Rafto Peace Award for their instrumental work in not only documenting, missing people, but trying to find them. Parveena Ahangar had a special son who was taken away by the Indian forces, and she never found him. And this brave woman went out not only searching for her own son, but for all the other sons. And she was recognized, and she was given this Rafto Award. These are the first two Kashmiris who received this award. Do we celebrate these? No. There are multiple Kashmiri journalists who won Pulitzer Prizes. Do we celebrate them? No. Khurram Parvez, who started with Parvez Imroz the work of forming a book called Structures of Violence, which at least till 2016 had all the FIRs. You see, India does not register FIRs for Kashmiris. They did a few. And so he made this book which had all those FIRs, name of the victim, perpetrator, which was always Indian Army, Indian government, the crime, these hard facts which can provide you a good ground for lawfare has been provided not just to the government of Pakistan, government of IIOJK, but to the United Nations and European Parliament as well. Proper work has been done, and this is being updated. This is being updated by Kashmiri lawyers. So what President Masud Sahab said before he left, that most of the content that you find is Indian. Put in some effort and try to find the Pakistani and Kashmiri content, because it is somewhere there, because we're doing it. So try to find us. Kashmiris are putting in their best effort to be seen and to be heard, but please don't expect Kashmiris from Indian occupied Kashmir to do more. No, nothing. IIOJK Kashmiris can, and we are. Please do not hope that something of Palestinian kind of intifada happening in Indian occupied Kashmir. It's not, because we don't have material support. If we do, then even today we can fight back. Very few freedom fighters are in Indian occupied Kashmir. The Indian forces themselves say that they have around 500 to 1,000 freedom fighters. This is what they say. Never heard of a number more than 1,000. But they're so brave that even though they don't have the latest ammunition, India requires more than 800,000 armed forces to catch these 1,000 people, which they have never had. They kill a few, but they've never been able to catch Kashmiris. So we're at our front. We're doing well. I would like to tell you that we're very hopeful and we're very powerful. We're very brave because Pakistan stands with us. I would like to request that please be proud of all the achievements. Please stop talking about an India which is over there, and please look at its reality, which is it's way beyond and below us, and treat it like that. Do your business, do your trade, we don't stop you, but do not give up on any of the strategic importance that is attached to Kashmir just for mere trade, because Pakistan has traded with India, and I would like to tell you it wasn't really successful. Kashmiris tell you Indians don't like you. They're not interested in your money, and they will find each and every way to bring you down. So don't trust them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to our last esteemed speaker, Mr. Senator Mushahid Hussain. Sir.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'm very grateful to the Islamabad Policy Research Institute, one of the top think tanks of the Global South, of Asia, and of the Muslim world. Now I think it's certified as the 74th high-ranking worldwide government-affiliated think tank. And I congratulate the leadership of IPRI, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Ambassador Inam ul Haq Saab, the new President of IPRI, Lieutenant General Majid Ahsan Saab, and also Brigadier Rashid Saab, and Ambassador Asif Durrani Saab, my old friend and colleague also. And Farzana Saab, thank you for your very good presentation. And early we heard some very riveting presentation by Ambassador Masud Khan Saab. So I'll just try to be very focused and short because much has been said. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, we are speaking at a time when there has been a global transformation and turbulence, and that transformation has led to what I would call a politically reshaped South Asia, which has emerged in this last summer. And this politically reshaped South Asia gives hope that struggles for self-determination, struggles of the oppressed, like the struggle of the people of occupied Kashmir and occupied Palestine, that there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Three new realities are evident in our region, which will impact directly on the issue of Kashmir, and which are positive. Number one, India has suffered the biggest and devastating setback in its history since the 1962 humiliation from China. Militarily, politically, diplomatically, and media-wise. And they're still smarting from that. Even yesterday, Reuters had a story, what went wrong, how the planes were shot down, then the Economist had a story, then their own people are talking about it. They've not been able to figure out. So, because the defeat has been so evident. So that is one very major thing. And I think, Farzana Sahiba, you should know that in Pakistan, sometimes defeatism is there at the top level, but not among the people of Pakistan. The people of Pakistan have that resilience, that strength, and that has been demonstrated in two of our finest hours in the last 25 years. In 1998, when we became a nuclear power, despite pressures from outside, and in May 2025, when we fought back and hit back and gave them a bloody nose. So that's the first new reality. It's a different South Asia. People are looking at Pakistan differently, and they're looking at India differently also. That is the key thing. And this is the biggest defeat for India since 1962, since the humiliation under Nehru. The second one is that none other than President Donald Trump, and by the way, I was the first to say in Pakistan he'll be the next president, and I predicted that, and that he'll be good for Pakistan. And he has, because he is the first American president after John F. Kennedy, who is not from the American security establishment and not a traditional, conventional mindset. And he has said that Kashmir is the core issue between the two countries. And he said it's for hundreds of years. By that he means Muslim and Hindu problem. So that is very important that at the highest level, the President of the United States is talking about Kashmir as the core cause of contention between Pakistan and India. And I think that opportunity should be seized with. The third new reality, which is also extremely important for us, is that today, ladies and gentlemen, China is a de facto party to the Kashmir dispute. China is a de facto party to the Kashmir dispute, and China is also a de facto part of South Asia. What happened? On 5th of August, occupation of Kashmir through this annexation. On 7th of August, Amit Shah went to the Indian Parliament, 7th of August. The Home Minister, the henchman of Modi, he announced that, yes, now with very gloating hubris and arrogance that we have taken over and divided this territory, now the next targets is, he said, Azad Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan, and he mentioned Aksai Chin. Aksai Chin is the part of China which links up Xinjiang with Tibet. And for China, that was a red line, because that is about the unity, the sovereignty, and the territorial integrity of China. So that, and China has twice gone to the UN Security Council on our behalf on the Kashmir issue. And they're very clear. And recently, after our victory over India, on 14th of May, China announced that Arunachal Pradesh is illegally occupied Chinese territory. This was liberated by China in 62, but then they returned it as a gesture back to India. And they said, and they now call it Zhangnan, Chinese name. And 52 rivers, ridges, roads, buildings, locations have been renamed in Chinese. And then followed by what Farzana mentioned rightly. And I'd already mentioned in my interviews, when India talked of Indus waters, some Indian television asked me, what do you think of? I said, look here. It takes two to tango. Don't set a wrong precedent, because we are your lower riparian. Yes, Pakistan is to India. But do you know, see the map? You are the lower riparian of China. $167 billion, the new dam on Brahmaputra River. They will use steel linked with 16 Empire State Buildings. It's a huge undertaking that has changed and altered the strategic landscape of South Asia. And China is rock solid with Pakistan. And when the Chief of Army Staff went recently, Field Marshal Asim Munir, to China on 24th of July, what did the joint statement say? Pakistan and China will have coordinated responses to shared geopolitical challenges. I'm quoting from the document. Coordinated responses to shared geopolitical challenges. And the Chinese side said that the Pakistan armed forces are a bastion of peace and stability in South Asia, which means combating Indian hegemonism. That is very clear. Now, when we talk of post 5th of August, already you have mentioned historically, I think General Saab mentioned about Redcliffe Award, and you also mentioned about the accession. And you mentioned the book by Andrew Roberts, who's my favorite historian, by the way. His latest book is on Churchill, Walking with Destiny, and I would like to say you must read it. And he has a book on comparing Hitler with Churchill also. He writes in the Eminent Churchillians, and Eminent Churchillians has different chapters. There's one chapter of 100 pages on Lord Mountbatten, which I would say is must reading for everybody. General Saab, you mentioned Redcliffe Award. According to Andrew Roberts in Eminent Churchillians, it was on the 9th and 10th of August, 1947, that Mountbatten and Redcliffe had a dinner in Governor House, Lahore. There the decision was taken. Redcliffe was somebody who didn't know India at all. He was brought in from there. He said, Her Majesty's government demands two things. A, you will not announce the award on 14th August. 14th August, there was independence. They will not announce the award because Firozpur and Gurdaspur, Muslim areas, were supposed to be given to India. That was the conspiracy. And secondly, he said, you have to draw this line. And then later on in 2020, there was a big play on BBC TV, which was, I saw that, they said how the line was drawn. It's a 1-hour play about how Redcliffe played the role, Mountbatten and Qaid-e-Azam, and Nehru. So that is worth reading, and Patel was there also. So it was that decision was taken on a dinner between Mountbatten and Redcliffe in Governor House, Lahore, on the Redcliffe Award. And on the issue of accession, you've already mentioned, Wolpert has mentioned that. And I personally talked to Wolpert because when I was information minister, I invited Stanley Wolpert and got him the award also, Hilal-e-Qaid-e-Azam, for his book. And I got him a lecture, and then we discussed these issues. And then, of course, Alistair Lamb, we had invited him also, and also Andrew Roberts. So that is very clear on the historical context. Now, post-5th, we have discussed the demographic changes. Despite the numbers, the fact is the demographic balance is being changed in occupied Kashmir as they are doing in occupied Palestine. A similar strategy. settlers, outsiders to change, alter that. The second aspect, which you also alluded, is extremely important. Because we are dealing not with an Indian government, and I agree with you about the issues, because my own view has always been that the narrative is consistent. When Mrs. Gandhi on 17th of December 71 said कि हमने 1000 साल का बदला ले लिया है. So I went to India. I said, what are you talking about 1000 साल? Pakistan was only 24 years old in 71. Are you referring to Muhammad bin Qasim? And Modi also says कि 1000 साल की गुलामी. Mrs. Gandhi said 1000 साल का बदला. And according to her aide, she said कि वो बच्चों की तरह खुशी से आई कमरे में, और इसमें उर्दू बोलती थी क्योंकि उनको हिंदी नहीं आती थी, नेहरू फैमिली को, ना नेहरू को, ना राजीव को, ना मिसेस गांधी को. हमने 1000 साल का बदला ले लिया, ऐसे जोश के साथ उसने कहा, with glee and sadness, like a child. That's what her aide said. She rushed in to announce that when the thing took place in East Pakistan. So this is, the mindset is very clear. Hindutva ideology of RSS. By the way, this is 100 years of RSS. It was formed in 1925. This is the 100th anniversary. What are the ingredients of RSS? 3 ingredients. जो हिंदुत्व आइडियोलॉजी है, इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम फैशिज्म, यूरोपियन फैशिज्म, और उनका सलूट भी देख लें आरएसएस का क्या है. उनका था ना हाइल हिटलर, उनका है ये जो खाकी निकर, white shirt, and this is the salute, which is the derivative of the Heil Hitler salute, fascism. दूसरा, hatred for Muslims, very clear. And तीसरा जो आपने बात की, अखंड भारत, greater India, like Eretz Israel, greater Israel. And that map that Modi has put up in Lok Sabha is not just symbolic, not just historical. That is their vision. That is their desire. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Tajikistan are a part of Akhand Bharat. This is their thinking. And I think we should all thank the Almighty and also the great leader, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who saw through that thinking of Akhand Bharat 90 years ago and said, we cannot coexist with them. And that is why Pakistan was created. So that is very important. The third component of Indian strategy has been state terrorism. State terrorism inside occupied Kashmir, and you gave the figures very completely documented, and also against Pakistan, and also against people who are dissidents. This is done by RAW at the instance of Indian state, and the RAW station chief was expelled from Washington, D.C. after planning the assassination of the Sikh American and also the killing in Canada. And this, I think, is extremely important. You mentioned about Genocide Watch, Brigadier Sahib. The president of Genocide Watch is Dr. Gregory Stanton. And Dr. Gregory Stanton gave testimony to the American Congress in January 2023, I think. It's in the net also, where he said that parts of India, he said, one occupied Kashmir and the other one Assam, are in a situation where India can perpetrate genocide. We talk of genocide in Gaza, yes, we condemn the crimes, and there's no doubt about that. But within this, in the Indian occupied area also in Assam, this is not what I'm saying. This is Dr. Gregory Stanton, the president of Genocide Watch, and you have already given the 10 markers that how first you demonize, then you do this, and then you isolate them. So this issue of genocide, this is what needs to be done, is we should mention that. When we talk of the future, and I feel that Palestine and Kashmir have a very important similarity, that both are based on denial of right of self-determination of UN resolutions, albeit internally there may be differences, but the issue is similar because they are all under foreign military occupation. We should be very clear that, Farzana Sahiba, on the issue of Kashmir, the policy was enunciated by the Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Kashmir is the jugular vein of Pakistan. So Kashmir is the part of every Pakistani's DNA. So it's an issue above any government or any party. It's part of our DNA where, and there are three issues on strategic issues on which there's a complete consensus in Pakistan: Kashmir, nuclear, and relations with China. So I think that we should rest assured that from Pakistani side, we have already taken that position, and Qaeda was willing to go to war with India on Kashmir, and he did that also. For the future, I think the biggest challenge is fighting defeatism and appeasement. This kind of defeatism that is there, and I think this is a problem among many Muslims also, many Pakistanis also, and they say, oh, kya banega, haath malne shuru hue the. Not at all, because we have shown, and I think Iran also has shown to Israel, and Pakistan has shown to India, that size does not equal strength. Because if that was the case, the Vietnam should have lost to America, and Afghanistan should have been under Russian occupation, and Cuba should have ceased to exist as a socialist country 90 miles from America. So that is, I think, extremely important. The other area that we need to focus on, extremely important, is on lawfare. March 2024, the International Court of Justice was meeting, and South Africa has taken Palestine to that issue. The Chinese delegation said, and it's very important to understand, that people living under foreign military occupation have the right of armed resistance to foreign military occupation. It applies to Palestine, it applies to the Kashmiri struggle, because it's foreign illegal military occupation in violation of all international laws and the UN Charter. And finally, I'd like to say homework is very important. I'll give you one instance. I was sent as special envoy of government of Pakistan in 2016 after the martyrdom of Burhan Muzaffar Wani to the United States and to the United Nations. And then I was meeting the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations in New York, along with Ambassador Maria Lodi. She was the ambassador. And he was an American. He obviously didn't know about, when I started about Kashmir, he said, Senator, you're talking about Kashmir. There's no reference, mention of Kashmir in any UN document for the last 50, 60 years. I said, Excellency, you are wrong. He said, no, I'm saying that. The last resolution 52. I said, no resolution is made. I said, you are absolutely wrong. I said, do you know how to access the Google? He said, my secretary is here. I said, call her. I said, go to the United Nations documents, resolution number 1172, June 6, 1998. कौन सा resolution है? मैंने कहा, that was a unanimous resolution passed by the UN Security Council, which condemned Pakistan and India for going nuclear, unanimously, but which instructed General Saab, the United Nations Secretary General, to seek solution to the core cause of the conflict, namely Kashmir issue. I said, this is the printout lao, uski ladki ko kaam hai. Bring the printout. June 6, 1990. You can see it from the internet. 1172. He was shocked. He said, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I said, please refresh your facts when you talk on issues. So ye nalaiki hamari bhi hai. We don't present our case with facts, logic and wisdom. ये armed resistance की बात है, UN resolutions की बात है, because this is fact. Yes, they condemn India and Pakistan for going nuclear, but they mention Kashmir as the core cause, and they instruct, वो तो हमारे हक में है. So why don't we use that to our advantage? So if you do your homework well. And plus, I think apart from lawfare, I feel that Edward Said was a professor when I was studying in America. He was a professor in New York, in Columbia. He told Arafat that the Palestine issue will only be resolved once Western public opinion changes in favor of Palestine. That has happened today. If the Western public, और परसों demonstration हुआ 3 लाख का सिडनी में, 300,000. No, you're talking of the West. Australia, जी, 2 पर महल जैसे कहते हैं. न्यूयॉर्क में demonstrations हो रहे हैं, लंदन में हो रहे हैं, Berlin, Madrid, you name it, London. So all these places. So I think that and everybody is talking of recognition of Palestine now. It's a symbolic thing, but that means an injustice has been accepted, except by the United States. And I felt Trump would have done it, but the Israeli lobby is blackmailing him. on the Epstein files. वो Israeli lobby ने किया, उनको फंसाया भी है, and they are using that as a cover to weaken him. So I think that we should pursue this. We should have a special envoy appointed on Kashmir, who should be full-time. Inam sahab, joggers palo tusi apne. Bed ton pe jahe asi baar. Get cracking now. He should be there because somebody who can talk with facts and logic. Finally, I like to say, Ambassador Inam sahab is here. General Musharraf sahab had decided on the recognition of Israel. And he called a meeting. And I was there as chairman of Foreign Relations Committee. Inam sahab was there as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Riaz Khokhar. और सारे the general's high command was there. Ihsan साहब आप नहीं थे उस वक्त. He must be a brigadier those years. But बड़ा high 3-star everybody was there. बड़े रोबदार. ये अपने आराम से आए सूटी के बगैर सूट पहन के रियाज खोखर भी था. So I started off. They asked me. We gave a view. No recognition of Israel. And I commend Inamul Haq साहब. Normally bureaucrats कहते हैं वो yes sir, yes man होते हैं. इन्होंने जिस तरीके से दलाइल के साथ हकायक के साथ बात की. और रियाज खोकर साहब ने भी, he is no longer with us, but I like to place on record. तो ये ऐसे लोग होते हैं. आगा शाही साहब थे, दबंग लोग, जिन्होंने ये काम किया. And General Musharraf said, I agree with you. He changed his mind. You remember that. So if you have that capacity and will, and I like to also mention Aga Shahi साहब, finally, लोग बात करते हैं जनरल ज़िया की दूसरी चीज़ें. 1979, when the Americans discovered that we have the nuclear facility being built in Kahuta, General Zia sent a delegation led by Aga Shahi Saab to America, October 79. हम नहीं बना ले bomb. So they asked Aga Shahi, they said we want to have a separate room. General Saab, when the Americans want to put pressure, वो अलग ले जाते हैं आपको कमरे में. तो Shahi Saab was taken separately. बाकी उनके साथ है साहबजादा याकूब खान, General Ghulam Jilani Khan, General K.M. Arif, उनको अलग ले गए. इसको डराते हैं जरा. तो Aga Shahi Saab बड़े आराम से बेंगलोर से थे, very soft spoken, and के पहनी हुई पाइप साथ. And I go, look here, Mr. Aga Shahi, you are walking into the valley of death if you build the nuclear bomb. So Shahi Saab bade pura relaxed. He smiled, puffed his pipe, smoked. We can't build a bicycle. How can we build the bomb? And then he went back to General Zia and reported. General Zia called Dr. Ashfaq. Go and look for the site where we will test the nuclear bomb. The Chaghi site was selected, ladies and gentlemen, 19 years before we tested. ये है हिम्मत और हौसला हमारे लोगों में. तो ये जान है हमारे सिस्टम में. और इंशाल्लाह on Kashmir also, we will not give up till the liberation of Kashmir from Indian occupation. Kashmir banega Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator, for your profound remarks. Of course. Sir, please, the stage is yours. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The issue has been discussed thoroughly. What I would like to do is to offer some clarifications. First to Farzana Sahiba. I would like to assure you that it is not for Pakistan to give up the rights of the Kashmiri people. Pakistan has no right to give up the decision of the Kashmiri people to exercise their right to self-determination. And you can rest assured that Pakistan will never do that. We may be weak, we may be strong, that is immaterial. But support for Kashmir will always remain permanent until such time as the Kashmiri people determine their own future. Second, there is a congruence of views between India and Israel. And India is in fact following the rule book of Israel. There is a greater Israel map, there is the Akhand Bharat map. There is demographic change in Palestine. India follows with demographic changes in Kashmir. Israeli advisors sit in India to advise India on how to suppress the people of Jammu and Kashmir as they are doing in Palestine. And the two countries have developed an axis, which you spoke of breaking. But I think it was Masud Khan sahab who spoke of breaking. I think it's practically impossible to break that now because of the shared views of India and Israel supporting India to the hilt. Even during the recent May skirmishes and pre-war events, Israelis were supporting India to the hilt.
Their advisors were present on the Arab.
Absolutely, yes. The Israeli drones were being loitering around with loitering munitions over Pakistan. And this is an axis which, in fact, operates in Washington as one. The Israeli lobby, AIPAC, and the Indian lobby work together in the American Congress to promote the interests of both India and Israel. Third, reference was made to IWT. Let me say that international law on water resources, transboundary water resources, is very weak. There is only one United Nations Convention of 1997, and there is a Helsinki Agreement, European Agreement of 2004. But the rights of lower riparians have never been defined. It only talks of equity and reasonable use by both upper riparians and lower riparians. And therefore, the Indus Water Treaty is much stronger than international law on the subject, because the last article of the treaty, Article 13, states clearly that the treaty cannot be modified without the consent of both parties and in the form of a new treaty agreed to by both parties. Nor can it be rescinded by any one party. It has to be with the agreement of both parties. So international law-wise, Pakistan is in a very strong position. But we must never forget that Pakistan is already a water-stressed country, among the 10 most water-stressed countries in the world, and the holding in abeyance of the IWT, which allows India not to share information with Pakistan on the flow of the rivers and other issues regarding its plans to build run-of-the-river projects on the three rivers, western rivers of the Indus Water Treaty, Jhelum, Chenab, and Sindh, will allow it to take away water from Pakistan, and it is an existential threat for Pakistan. As such, we must begin work now internationally, explore all international law avenues open to Pakistan, including the UN Security Council, the UN General Assembly, the ICJ if possible, and other legal bodies, including the Sixth Committee of the UNGA, the Second Committee because it affects our economic rights, the Third Committee because it affects the human rights of people. All of them must be now agitated. Let's not wait for something to happen, because something has happened already. The Indians have made their intentions clear. The fourth point that I wanted to make was about liberation struggles. The United Nations has always supported liberation struggles of occupied people. And there are examples which exist. For example, ANC, the African National Congress of South Africa, the SWAPO of Zimbabwe, the SWAPO of Namibia, and the two parties ZANU and ZAPU of Zimbabwe. They were all recognized by the United Nations as liberation organizations, and they were struggling militarily. So any people under occupation have the right to liberate themselves through the use of force. It is absolutely legal and accepted. So therefore, let's not shy away from supporting the Kashmiri struggle for liberation, even if it turns violent at times. There is no reason for Pakistan to be afraid of supporting the Kashmiri liberation struggle, even if it is violent. It is being carried out by people under occupation. It is being carried out by people who are being suppressed, whose land is being taken away from them, whose people are being killed, whose children are dying, whose economy has been destroyed totally. So what does the world expect from the Kashmiri people? To lie down and die? They will struggle. They will continue to struggle, and we will continue to support them. I think we should be very clear in our minds that the UN Security Council's resolutions cannot be changed. The United Nations has stated on various occasions, whenever a question has been raised at the United Nations about the validity of UN Security Council resolutions on Kashmir, the UN Secretary General's rep or even the UN Secretary General himself have declared that the resolutions continue to exist and continue to remain to be implemented until such time as they are either changed or rescinded by the UN Security Council. And this is not likely to happen because Pakistan will not allow the agenda on India-Pakistan relations under which these resolutions were adopted to be removed from the agenda of the UN Security Council. So let's be clear that legally we are on firm grounds. We must not change our posture legally. And we must continue to support the Kashmiri struggle, irrespective of the perceived weaknesses or strength or the size of different countries. As has been stated earlier, it's not size that matters. Eventually, right will prevail. And we must continue to stand firm on the side of right. And we must, in this context, continue to stay on the side of the Kashmiri people. One last point. In recent days, there has been rumor mill in India saying that India might accept or reinstate the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir without Ladakh. There are also rumors that they might also break up and make Jammu and say separate state and Kashmir a separate state. We do not know the veracity of those rumors, but we must be ready to respond to those rumors if they should happen to be true. And our response should always be that Pakistan does not recognize Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. We do not go into the merits or demerits of Article 370 or how it was hollowed out. It was always illegal. It will remain illegal, even if it is reinstituted. We must stand firmly on the fact that the basic fact is the right of the Kashmiri people to exercise self-determination through a plebiscite organized under United Nations auspices, not any other auspices. And we must continue to work on the world to come to our view, not change our views in accordance with the wishes of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for your profound remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for question and answers. However, given the short amount of time that we have, we will only be taking just a few questions. Please introduce yourself and keep your questions brief. Sir. Please raise your hand if you have a question.
They're too exhausted after 2 hours.
So we spoke about the possibility of restoration of statehood. Would that in any way dilute the impact of what already has been violated by way of international law? Even if they restore it, our basic stance, as you just very clearly mentioned, is rooted in UN resolutions 39, 47, and then following. So this illegality of 370, why it has not been highlighted with clarity so far? Because we are too focused on this and sometimes diluting our focus on
5th of August 2019, the Indians decided to rescind Article 370 and 35A. The official statement that was issued by Pakistan very clearly stated that Article 370 had no value, that Pakistan stood by the UN Security Council resolutions and the right of the Kashmiri people to determine their own future. Article 370 was in fact a violation of UN Security Council resolutions itself, which had very clearly stated, starting from resolution 38 and going on to 122, that India has no right to change the status of Jammu and Kashmir in any way. And we reported under resolution 38 as well as under resolution 122 of 1957 that India had materially changed the situation since 1948 onwards, and therefore the world should take notice. So our position has been consistent even in 2019 also, that we do not recognize Article 370. The problem is, as has been stated here both by Masud Khan and Senator Mushahid, that people have not studied this issue in depth in Pakistan. Even our so-called intellectuals do not know the history of Pakistan. For example, Alistair Lamb has written 3 or 4 books on Kashmir, in which he clearly states again that on Indian forces, Kapurthala State's forces, entered Kashmir on 8th of October. So was stated by Andrew in his eminent Churchillians. And as Mushahid Sahib said, the chapter on Mountbatten is most interesting because he calls him an idiot.
Yes, exactly.
He-
Andrew Roberts.
Andrew Roberts. He was the, for example, Mountbatten, only one example. Mountbatten was the commander of a destroyer. And that destroyer was coming into port and he ordered straight ahead. And not only he destroyed the port, but also the destroyer himself. And his wife paid for the damages.
Yes.
Edwina paid for the damages to
Who's
the
a millionaire
destroyer.
Jew.
Who was- So he was always an idiot, a total pompous ass.
Yes, absolutely. That's the right wording.
So, and unfortunately, it was our misfortune that he was the last Governor General, Viceroy of India, United India. If it had been Wavell, maybe the outcome would
Yes,
have been
it would
different.
be different. Absolutely. It was different. ठीक है जी. Thank you.
For our second question. Please.
Excuse me. Thank you so much, sir. I have a very brief question. While President Trump has offered to mediate between both the countries, but the problem I see is that the status quo lingers. Probably it seems that we are stuck in a strategic dilemma and politically there is no initiative to talk. So how can this impasse be overcome and how can India, Pakistan get talking? Are there some minimum that needs to be done so that we come out of the status quo? Thank you.
शायद तुझे जवाब दोगे मैं दूंगा. At this moment, the Indians are not prepared to talk to you. The BJP has made up its mind not to talk to Pakistan. They, as I think Farzana Sahib has stated, they hate Muslims and Pakistanis. Their entire doctrine of Hindutva is based on what? On hatred for Muslims who they claim occupied them for 1,000 years and enslaved them for 1,000 years. So they want to impose a slavery of 1,000 years on you now in return. So you should be very clear about what the long-term intentions of India are. They are hegemony in this region. They want to become the hegemons of this region. Unless India becomes a hegemon of this region, it cannot emerge as a major power in the world. And Pakistan is the only country which stands against them to allow them to emerge from this region as a hegemon. And we will continue to do that. Now, as regards your question about whether we can do something to persuade India to enter into talks with us, at this stage, no. We have to stand firm on what we have done and what we will continue to do if India commits aggression against us. No country can tolerate an attack on its mainland and not respond. We merely responded to India. We did not attack India. We were defending Pakistan in May 2025. And nobody can take that right of self-defense, which is enshrined in Article 51 of the UN Charter itself. Therefore, at this stage, it is not for Pakistan to offer any concessions to India. If India wishes to discuss the issue with Pakistan, we have offered dialogue all the time. Even day before yesterday, I think, the Prime Minister offered a dialogue to India. The Deputy Prime Minister has offered a dialogue to India on numerous occasions. They are not willing to take up the offer. Now, coming to Trump's offer of mediation, it was made, as Mushahid Sahib said, in 2019 also. The Indians did not take up on it because they refused to accept any third-party entrance into this problem. Since Simla 1972, they have said this is a bilateral issue. We will resolve it ourselves. The world should stay out of this. And they continue to stand by that position till today. Trump's offer of mediation may or may not be followed up, but Trump's attitude towards India has turned negative. If you have seen his recent tweets, because of their behavior, only yesterday I think he tweeted that he is going to increase the tariffs even more than 25% because of their...
He called it a dead economy.
He called it a dead economy, both Russia and India. And he also said that, in fact, that this is what actually India is doing. It is buying oil from Russia at a cheap rate, refining it, and selling it outside to the rest of the world, even to Europeans. So if Trump is unfortunately an unpredictable gentleman, he is the head of the most powerful country in the world, but you never know when he might change his mind. So let's see how it develops. But for the time being, do not expect any talks between India and Pakistan.
Given the time constraint, we can take up one last question.
Thank you. My name is Igor. I'm from the Russian embassy, the press attaché of the embassy. So after having listened to the entire discussion, I have the impression that the entire panel is of the opinion that Pakistan must support Kashmiri freedom fighters, not only morally, but also financially and even militarily. But inevitably, as I see it, I'm not taking sides here, but as I see it, India will view this military support to the Kashmiri freedom fighters as the support for terrorists, as they call them. So it will highly likely lead to an all-out war between India and Pakistan. And the consequences of this war could be much, much more dire than what we saw in May when it took only a few days. But if a real war, an all-out war happens, it could lead to massive devastations. So given that, I understand that the problem that we discussed today is gravely serious, but the consequences of such actions as military support for Kashmiri freedom fighters can even be even more serious. So do you view any other viable solutions to this problem, or the military solution is the only one?
First of all, let me clarify. Nobody in this panel said that Pakistan should militarily support the Kashmiri people. Pakistan's position has been to support diplomatically the people of Jammu and Kashmir on this issue. We have taken steps, fundamental steps, to get out of the grey zone of FATF recently. And that is a very tough organization, as you know. And it's very difficult to come out of the grey zone once you are in it. So Pakistan has taken very concrete steps to assure the membership of FATF that Pakistan is not supporting, number one, any terrorist activities, as you call them. Number two, offering any military support to the liberation struggle of the Kashmiri people. So please clarify your mind, first of all. There is no military support from Pakistan going into Indian occupied Kashmir. I'm making a very bold statement to clarify your mind for that. Do not ever think or state that anybody in Pakistan has said that Pakistan will offer military support to the liberation struggle in Kashmir. We will continue to offer our full diplomatic support, our full assistance to the Kashmiri people, short of any military support. So please do not frame a question in a way which accuses Pakistan of offering military support to the Kashmiris, and then concluding from there that war will follow. If the premise is wrong, then the conclusion is also wrong. Pakistan does not want to go to war with India. Why would Pakistan want to go to war with India? Look at it objectively. Despite the courage of the Pakistani people, Pakistan is a smaller country. It has a smaller economy. It has a smaller military. It has a much smaller military budget. What would be of benefit to Pakistan in going to war with India? It is India which imposed a war on Pakistan through a false flag operation in Pahalgam. In 2019, they did so in Balakot. We have never been the first to initiate anything. Even in 1947, when the struggle of the Kashmiri people started, it was not Pakistan which started it. It was Indian forces which entered Kashmir. So please be clear in your mind about historical facts before drawing any conclusions from them. Thank you. Ji, please.
So in the 1990s, there was, really increase in Kashmiri freedom struggle, where Kashmiris came out in droves and not just protesting, but actively fighting off the Indian army. Now that did not lead to India attacking Pakistan, but it actually brought India to table to talk to Pakistan. So we as Kashmiris, we always say that until and unless we don't increase the cost of occupation, India does not come and talk to Pakistan. So when we look historically, any time that India has come to table, whether it has spoken or not, but has had a little bit of opening, is when Kashmiris increased the cost of occupation. So there is a clarity of what was just said, but as a Kashmiri, we always stand by our right to fight back, by our right to our freedom struggle, by whatever means necessary.
Let me add one thing more. If it was not the Kashmiris who were fighting for their rights, even according to Indian sources these days, and their statements in the Indian Parliament, there are 60 to 1,000, 60 to 100 fighters in Kashmir. Farzana was very generous when she said 500 to 1,000. We are now talking of 60 to 100. Against 60 to 100 freedom fighters, they need a force of 800,000. It is the entire population of Jammu and Kashmir which is against Indian occupation. It's not just the liberation fighters in Kashmir. A liberation fight cannot exist in a territory where there is no support from the people. The people of Jammu and Kashmir do not want India to occupy them, and occupy them with the highest percentage of forces in the world in any piece of geography. This is the most dense presence of forces in anywhere in the world. 800,000 people, armed people in a small territory. To do what? To control 100 people? No. It is to oppress the entire people of Jammu and Kashmir. Perspective should be clear as to what is happening. And so should the premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, and Madam Farzana for your eloquent responses. Ladies and gentlemen, this sums up the Q&A session. I would now request President IPRI and all the distinguished guests to gather on the stage for a group photo. Thank you.